This is a familiar room. We've all been in it at some time in our lives. Now, a lot of people are going to come back into this room tonight because something close to a man's life will be at stake. You too will be there. And that's going to impose a heavy obligation on you, because the only way he can be condemned or set free is through you. You will be sitting in judgment, not just on a man's life, but on your own. That is the challenge.
What's the matter with the eggs, honey?
Nothing.
Well, maybe they don't have enough salt on them.
No, I'm not hungry.
Eggs gotta be salted good, you know.
It's 20 of 8. Is that coffee ready?
Just about. I'll scramble you some eggs.
Oh, I haven't got time. Just a piece of toast, huh? Hey, will you look at this? Huh? My good sweater, the whole thing's unraveling.
I'll mend it tonight. Here you are. Probably hasn't perked enough.
Ah, it looks fine. Hey, Mike, what's the matter? You haven't finished your breakfast, boy?
Oh, I had enough.
What's the matter? You sick or something?
He's been acting droopy like that for I don't know how long.
Oh, Mom.
Nothing wrong with school, is there, boy?
It's nothing, Dad. Listen, we're gonna be late.
I don't know. This is the third morning in a row you've been eating like it was a race or something. You could get up 5 minutes earlier.
Well, I'll get something to eat in the school cafeteria, huh?
Yeah, probably one of those greasy crullers or something.
So long, Mom.
Well, now, come on, boy. Life can't be that tough.
Hey, Phil, quit eating the buns and try to do my homework.
All right.
Hi, Bill.
Hi, Janie.
Hi, Mike.
Let's go.
One more honk and I'll paddle your tail.
Hey, go ahead, Bill. Let's see you do it.
I did.
One more honk.
Boy, some much stronger we got. Ladies and gentlemen, all those in favor that we should get a new one, yell aye.
I'll remember that. All right, let's go. Everybody out.
Boing. Ah, you quit passing it.
All right, come on. What's the matter, son?
Nothing.
Come on. I'm your father. If you can't talk to me, well, I mean, what am I?
Boy. Herbie did that. He sucked you on the arm. Boy. Like you were one of the kids. You're my father.
Okay, so Herbie did that.
They're all the time kidding around. Kids younger than me and they call you Bill. Why don't they have some respect?
Well, they like me, Mike.
Like you? They don't act like you're anybody. Why don't they call you Mister? Why doesn't somebody call you Mister?
Is it so important that somebody calls me Mister?
Yes! You're my father. You're supposed to be somebody.
Mike,
Let me go. Please.
Good morning, Bill.
hello, Miss Martin.
Hi, Bill.
Hattie Perkins has a chicken pox. Here's a note from her mother.
Chicken pox. I suppose it'll be all over the school by next week. Good morning, Mr. Harris.
That's Martin. Hiya, Bill.
Oh, I'm okay, Mr. Harris.
Good for you. The attendance record's in yet?
I'm just getting ready to check them.
Oh, Bill, I nearly forgot. Have you got that paper that I gave you last Friday?
Paper?
Yeah.
Oh, no, sir, it's home.
Well, I'd appreciate it if you'd sign it and bring it with you tomorrow. The others are in, and I'd like to get them all out to the school board at the same time.
Mr. Harris, I'm afraid I can't do that.
Oh? Why not?
Well, I just don't think I ought to sign it.
Well, I don't understand. Everyone else signed it. Maybe you better read it again.
I already read it, Mr. Harris.
Oh, Bill. You mean you have some objection to it?
Look, Mr. Harris, I've lived in this town all my life. If these people have any doubt about my loyalty by this time, I don't see what good signing a piece of paper is going to do.
Now, Bill, I don't think you quite know what you're doing. You've been here a long time, but you're placing me in a very uncomfortable position. Now, if you don't sign it, I'll have to let you go. Well, I'll have no choice, Bill. The school board tells me what to do.
You mean they'd fire me? Well, I find that kind of hard to believe, Mr. Harris. I've known those people on the board all my life. They wouldn't fire me.
Read the newspapers, Bill. It isn't just this school. Now, look. Is it asking so much?
Maybe not. It just goes against me, that's all.
Bill, you owe it to your family to think this over. So I'm going to give you until Friday night.
Mr. Harris? I'm afraid the answer will be the same then, too.
Now, don't say it. Don't say it. Think about it.
Wish I knew what time your father was coming home. Friday nights he's never late as a rule. Everything's getting mushy. Bill? Well, I wondered what time they were going to let you come home to supper. I got a nice piece of lamb. What's the matter, Bill?
They fired me.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, they fired me.
But they couldn't. They couldn't. Oh,
Well, I wouldn't sign something they wanted me to sign.
I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, here, take this off. It's so warm. What did they want you to sign?
Some sort of a loyalty oath.
Oh, Mike, turn it off, the lamp, turn it off. Why would they fire you? You've been there so long.
I don't know. Guess they thought it was important.
Well, why didn't you sign it? What's the difference?
Oh, look, I'm just tired.
But lots of people sign those things nowadays. It's no big thing. Look, you can go back there. I mean, supper will keep and everything, and tell them you'll sign it.
I can't do it, Edna.
But you've been fired. They fired you. Who do you think will give you a job in this town now? Tell me who.
I don't know.
Please, Bill, I'm begging you, please.
I can't. It's a feeling I got, Edna. I just can't explain it.
A feeling? We can't eat your feelings. Sorry. Oh. What are we going to do?
I don't know.
Well, let's hop on. School can't be that bad.
Okay, everybody, let's go.
Hey, what's the matter? Hey, what's going on here? Oh, let's not fool around here.
You coming, Mike?
What is it? Not going to school, that's all.
Listen, if you kids don't get back in here, I'm going to have to report this. No kidding now.
There's nothing against you, except we're not going to school until Bill Whitman's back driving the bus. We want Bill! 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 We want Bill!
Find anything?
Oh, a few things. Isn't exactly up my alley.
Bill, sign it. For me, please sign it. It's all so crazy, all with politics and everything. What do you know about politics?
Nothing. It's got nothing to do with politics.
We got less than $50 in the bank. We're going to have to...
We're not going to have to borrow.
Mike, what's the matter? You sick or something? No. Well, you gave me quite a scare.
What are you doing home from school, Mike?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Guys just decided they wouldn't go to school today.
What do you mean? Why not?
Well, come on, come on.
Back to school till you are.
You're kidding.
No, I'm not. Oh, they made it up themselves.
On account of me?
Mm-hmm. No?
I shouldn't do that. I mean, well, kids are supposed to go to school. They just... They really did that on account of me?
Yes, Mr. Harris. Tonight? I'll tell him. Goodbye.
What do you want?
There's a meeting down at the school tonight. Parents and all the kids and everything will be there. They want us to be there.
Okay.
Oh, Bill, you're not going. Do you know what they could do to you there?
It's about us. We've got to go, isn't it? We've got to go.
Now, the children's sole excuse for not going to school, so far as I've been able to discover, is that they want Bill Whitman reinstated. I'd like to know if there's some other reason. Dan?
No, sir. That's the reason. We just didn't think it was, fair the way he got fired.
Did you ever bother to find out why he was fired, Danny?
It was about signing some oath or something. None of us saw what that had to do with bus driving.
That oath or something was a loyalty oath. You know what it says?
No, sir. Not exactly, Mr. Perkins.
Have you a copy with you, Miss Morton?
No, but I can explain it to Danny, I think. It's really very simple. A loyalty oath asks that a person state that he is loyal and will be loyal to our government and to our country. It also makes him swear that he is not, nor ever has been, a member of any of the subversive organizations on the Attorney General's list, that's all.
Now, why would anyone object to signing a paper like that? Know why Bill Whitman was asked to sign it? I'll tell you why. Because there's treason being committed in this country right under our noses.
Just a minute, Mr. Perkins. I don't think anybody in this room is suspected of treason. As a matter of principle, I object to your jumping to conclusions.
Lawyer objects? Well, so do I. If a man won't sign a simple paper like that, then I don't want him hanging around my kids, or your kids either. You can call that a principle or a piece of pie, Mr. Fredericks, but that's the way I feel.
And I don't. I've hardly even spoken to this Bill Whitman, but until I do, I don't intend to start suspecting him.
He's right outside. Why not get him in here and give him a chance to speak for himself?
I think that's fair. I'd like to point out that the purpose of this meeting is to try to get your children back to school. Now, it does seem a little extraneous to start discussing Bill Whitman's case.
I don't agree. Once these children understand what this is all about, they'll go back to school of their own accord. And they'll have learned a good lesson besides.
How do the rest of you feel about it? All right. Herbie, will you ask Bill Whitman to come in?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to know one thing. Have you ever discussed this with Whitman?
Yes, I did. He knew what would happen to him if he didn't sign it. I told him everybody had signed it. The teachers, the office help, janitor, everyone connected with the school.
Well, I think this whole thing is un-American.
Oh? On what basis, Mrs. Prothero?
Firing a man like that. It's unconstitutional. We ought to be ashamed of ourselves.
There's a growing tendency in this country to call anything a person doesn't like un-American. In my opinion, it's somewhat un-American not to know the facts before making accusations.
Your opinion. Bill Whitman's opinion's just as good as yours. But he's lost his job because of it. How do you justify that?
There are precedents, Mrs. Prothero. Did you know that aliens, for example, can be barred by law from certain critical occupations if their backgrounds suggest a potential danger to this country? That's a ruling by our Supreme Court. Now, if that's the case, perhaps a man who refuses to swear that he is not planning any disloyal acts might also be barred, and quite legally barred from a critical occupation.
Such as bus driving?
He drives a school bus, madam. There is some distinction. The minds of our children are a very critical area, I would think.
Professor Dunn is right. Listen to this man, everybody. He knows what he's talking about.
Tell me, Mrs. Prothero, would you think it right to assign a Secret Service man who refused to swear that he did not believe in assassination to guard the person of the President of the United States?
You can laugh. But that doesn't change anything. We have certain freedoms in this country, and if we don't fight to protect them, goodbye, America.
I'm happy, madam, that we are now on grounds of complete agreement. We may again clash on fact, but at least in our intentions we are as one.
I'd like to interrupt for a moment. I see Mr. Whitman sitting over there. I think he ought to be given a chance to explain.
Well, I don't know what there is to explain.
Look, I'd like to know one thing. What sort of reason have you got for not signing that loyalty oath?
Reason? Well, I don't know. But if a man walked up to me on the street and...
Hey, louder!
If a man walked up to me on the street and asked me to sign a piece of paper saying I wasn't planning to rob a bank, well, I don't know what right he had to figure I'd ever do such a thing. It'd get me mad. Well, this piece of paper got me mad like that. I mean, I don't think anyone has the right to ask me to swear I'm innocent. I've got to prove I'm guilty. That's what I thought we were supposed to believe in.
Bill, all of us signed that paper but you. Now, if you were given the right to refuse, we'd have to grant the same right to everyone else.
That's the whole point.
No, it isn't. I'd probably sign one of those things if they asked me, but it still doesn't seem right to fire a man just because he disagrees.
Right.
He knew he'd be fired. What kind of a man is he? Look, let's get it out in the open. We're talking about communists, aren't we? All right. Now, if Bill Whitman was a party member, do you think he'd risk being exposed and fired? He would not. He'd sign that oath quicker than anybody here so he could continue his work.
And sooner or later, we'd catch up with him. And he wouldn't just lose his job. He'd go to jail for perjuring himself by saying he wasn't a party member.
Listen, these are dangerous times. We've got to be tough.
Now Whitman here refuses to sign a simple oath that no one else thinks twice about. I don't know what you call it. I call it disloyalty. What has he got to lose? His sacred honor or something?
That's what I say. He's either disloyal or the biggest fool I ever saw in my life.
Now, Mr. Blake.
No man can call my husband disloyal. He's a hard-working, decent man. Hard-working, decent man.
Listen, Mr. Perkins. A minute ago, you asked whether signing would cost Mr. Whitman his sacred honor. Well, maybe it would. You see, the reason that some of us here are frightened of your kind of thinking is because we know where signing that oath might lead us. Did you ever hear of a thing called the test vote? It was made into law in England over 300 years ago. It was like a loyalty oath, except it was aimed at Roman Catholics. It was worded in such a way that no Catholic could, in his sacred honor, sign it. But if he refused, he was barred from being a judge, a minister of state, or from holding a civil service job. He couldn't even get a university degree. Am I being accurate, Professor Dunn?
You are. And within 4 years, it was extended so that non-signers were barred from teaching school, practicing law, or even being sheriffs or court officers.
It was a misuse of power by the state directed at a minority. Oaths like that were an abomination to the founders of this country. They remain an abomination to some of us today, and we know why. They might start us over a cliff that leads to the very same thing we're fighting. You end up with conformity by law, with presumption of guilt before an act.
You end up with tyranny.
Call it anything you like. But I'll tell you this, Mr. Fredericks. You can keep looking back 300 years instead of facing what's going on now, but I'm not. The founders of this country didn't have communism to contend with. But we do. And if we have to step on a few toes to stay free, then by God, let's step. You said a mouthful.
You're talking about destroying freedom in the name of freedom.
Are we going to
talking about tearing up our Constitution? Well, you'll have to climb over my dead body to do it.
Mr. Frederick!
Sit down.
I'd like to answer that. Maybe this is an emotional argument, but it means a great deal to me. I lost a brother in Korea a few years ago. He was 19 years old. He went into a war he didn't understand, and he's buried in a town he couldn't even spell. Well, no one asked him to prove his loyalty with a signature. They asked him to prove it with his life. And now this man dares to tell us that he's so convinced by a principle that he refuses to sign his name. Not to die, but just to sign his name and say he's loyal. Well, why don't you dig my brother out of his grave and ask him what he feels about that?
I tell you, good people, this woman is right. I'd like to take fellas like Bill Whitman and run them out of town.
You're a fascist, Mr.
Don't use that word! Now listen to me. Well, what's going on in here is making me sick to my stomach. There's still room for differences of opinion in this country. Don't you plaster people with labels. Plaster them with ideas if you've got any. Now, let's sit down. See if we can't grow up in here.
I hope we can bring this thing into focus quietly. The issue we are discussing here is a rock on which our wisest minds have split for over 100 years. We as a nation have a right to abridge our own freedoms at any moment when our full democratic existence is threatened.
That's right. It's fundamental. That's right.
On the other hand, our Supreme Court has affirmed again and again that there must be a clear and present danger, substantial and relatively serious.
Right, sir. That's right.
Communism is such a danger, admittedly. But our democracy is an intricate pattern of individual protection. So we must ask ourselves whether the driver of a school bus, in refusing to sign a particular oath, represents to us, our children, and our community, a clear, present, and substantial danger. Hold on. None of us knows Mr. Whitman's motives, his feelings, or his thoughts. We can't give a just answer until we do. I submit, therefore, that it's time we heard from him.
Well, it's hard to know what to say. I guess I haven't thought as much or as hard about this as some of you. What you tell me, I'm a threat to these kids around here? Well, I know that's crazy. But I guess I'm the only one that does know enough. Look, what goes against me is that word loyalty. Like every time I hear a man say how loyal he is to his wife, I figure he stopped caring for her. It's kind of like advertising that there's something wrong between them. As long as a man and woman love each other, why, loyalty kind of takes care of itself. Well, that's the way I feel about this country, I guess. I mean, I can't see anything very wrong between it and me. To sign some piece of paper saying I'm loyal to it is, well, it's like saying it's gotten sick or it's let me down or something. Well, I don't feel that way. I sign that loyalty oath and I'll be signing a lie. If a man cares enough about something, he doesn't have to yell how loyal he is. Just can't be anything else. Well,
you feel strongly about this, don't you, Mr. Whitman?
yes, I do.
Does that make you right?
No, it doesn't.
That's all.
A lot of you people feel strongly, too. Doesn't make you right, either.
I think the evidence is in. Why don't we take a vote and hand our recommendation into the school board?
That's a motion. I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I think perhaps you ought to step outside for this.
Mr. Whitman, good luck.
Thanks, Danny.
Dad, they call you Mr. Whitman.
That's my name, son.
You spoke fine, Bill.
Maybe. You know, I learned something tonight. I learned that no man's got a right to feel strongly about anything until he's taken the trouble to find out why. Well, then, I think we're ready for a vote. The proposition, whether we recommend to the board the reinstatement of Bill Whitman as driver of the school bus or sustain his dismissal. I'll start
Don't
with Mr.
go.
Haley and go right
You
around.
too have been in this room. You too will be counted. The issue is yours to decide. How will you vote? That is the challenge.